Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is No Bullshit Gaming Podcast, 2.5 Gamers, session number 39. We're sharing actionable insights, dropping knowledge from our day-to-day UA, game design, and Admon jobs, but also discussing latest industry news from time to time while having so much fun. But let's not forget, this is still a 4 a.m. conference discussion vibe, so please, listeners, don't take it too seriously. We are definitely not taking it too seriously. And today we have a very special guest, and this is a very special episode. So today we have Felix, Praberg, Jakub, Premier, and Maria Gillis from
Hello.
Hutch, and she is the podcast host of Metacast by Navik. Welcome. And of course, it's me, Matej Lančarić, on the mic. Looking forward to this one.
Welcome.
So,
hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, so what's up? What's up, actually? Maria, you're the special guest. So what's been happening in the last couple of days for you?
For me?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, lots of rain, running in the rain. I saw two squirrels chasing each other, so that was quite uplifting.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, we have also like Jakub balloons that we discussed before we started recording. So it's a special. I don't know what special is.
How are you doing, Matej?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm pretty good, actually.
Congrats
You're doing
on
10
turning
years,
10,
yeah.
Matej.
Yeah,
Congrats.
Yeah, cheers to that, by the way. This is gin and tonic, so there you go.
Very nice.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's Friday. What can you do? I spent the whole day with my daughter celebrating 10 years in the gaming. Easy. Okay, stop with the bullshit. By the way, this works. This is no bullshit. So if you sense anything very close to bullshit, Maria, just call it out. Nobody will get offended except Jakub. He's always getting offended.
What? Yeah, he's a snowflake.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's see if the opening the doors actually help Felix's internet connection, because I see you're pretty blurred still.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Okay. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we are actually sharing actionable insights, and we want to share how to do a fast product review. So this is not going to be one of our classic deep dives that we've done before for Marvel Snap and Survivor IO. We want to discuss like how to do it really, really quickly and how to do the product review. And we are going to share an example of Rush Royale, because, well, I'm a very big fan of Rush Royale, and it's actually a pretty good game. So what to expect? So we are going to talk about what to do when you first install the game and you play it for research purposes, and where to look, what not to miss, how to evaluate, what kind of benchmarks look at, and it's going to be from the UA point of view, ad monetization, and product. So yeah, it's great. Looking forward so much. But before we start, because these two gentlemen didn't know, but Maria, did you know that Rush Royale was actually pulled down from the stores?
I also didn't know. I can still find it on the store, yeah.
Where the fuck you all live? Come on. How is it even possible? Like, it was all over the news.
Man, I don't have that much free time as you do, man.
It's not a free time. Well, so just to give this info to our listeners as well and to everybody else, Apple removed all VK and the Mail.ru apps and games from the store because VK owned My.games, and that owns Rush Royale, Hustle Castle, Left to Survive, other games and apps.
War Robots
as well, but that wasn't actually pulled from the store. I checked the data today. It was still out, still there, for some reason, or maybe it was pulled from Apple, but not from Google. We will never know, I guess. But how do I know? Not because I have a lot of free time. Obviously, I don't. But it was announced on their Discord channel and in the back channel discussion I have with different industry people. Bam! There you go. That's
Word on the street.
Words on the street. Yeah, words on the street. But I was actually trying to do the research this week, like what exactly happened and why it happened. So there were a lot of rumors, and your door is closing, Felix. So
Yeah, I think my
hopefully we
parents
will
closed the
get
door
a
on
good
me.
network. Nice. Okay, back to the VK. So the VK CEO is on the sanction list, and because of that, all their apps and games have been removed from the App Store. So what would you do? Well, one day after it was announced, the VK announced the sale of My.games. The deal was worth 642 million, and they sold it to the company called AppWake.me. Well, I guess they,
Mm,
launcherish.me,
Actually,
AppWake.me.
that's just the publisher account. It was sold to Alexander Chachava of Leta Capital.
Ooh,
Oh, that
tell
sounds
us
familiar,
more.
that name. Oh, why does that sound
Yeah,
familiar?
yeah. And by the way, VK and Mail.ru is the same company. Mail.ru just renamed itself as its biggest product, which is VK, the equivalent, the Russian equivalent of Facebook.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I tried to look into it, like there were, let's say, a lot of oligarchs on the sanction list behind the company. So it was pretty much obvious choice. If they want to get anything out of it, they had to sell it out. So my guess is that the new owner, which is the Lita Capital now, isn't in any way related to them. I guess so.
Or
If
is it?
there's,
Or is it?
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see.
it's
Because the headquarters of the company was also in Netherlands before, and then it was in
okay.
Moscow, and then again, this is again in Netherlands.
Yeah,
So
it's in Amsterdam,
let's see.
Cyprus, and Dubai. All great places.
What are those places known for again, except the sun? Favorable tax conditions?
maybe, maybe, maybe. We'll see. Okay, should we go into the VK report as well, Jakub, or just let's go with the actually
Yeah, we
important
can
stuff?
just go. Just like for the last thing, My.games was responsible for 35% of overall the revenue of that
Okay.
company. So I guess it was quite a big hit. But as I saw, they still are setting up VK Play, which will be some kind of equivalent after only inside Russia. So they still, doing games there, just not internationally. But yeah, let's see how that fares. Well,
Yeah, but after the sale happened, actually, the all the games are back on stores on
yep.
Apple Store and Google Store. Still don't quite match the revenue they were producing before they were pulled off, but I guess they will get there. They're starting also like UA again, or restarting UA again.
Yeah,
Right.
I
So,
guess it's mostly matter of like how fast you can switch, because I've seen some games from Russia being kind of very, very hit by the change or just decline in revenue overall, and then some games pretty much being able to switch pretty fast and you don't even see a budge there.
but what do you mean
So
switch?
when you change accounts or get out of the country, or
They're already on the different account. So what do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, they are. But I've seen games that are on a different account and the revenue was hit completely.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's see. All right. So the important stuff now. So how do you do the fast product review? Because we've been hearing some interesting surface level product reviews recently on the different channels, podcasts, and shows. So let's discuss how to do it properly and how I do it from the UA point of view and the creative point of view. So I can start, and then yeah, I think Mario can go, and then the Felix, and then Jakub as well. We can discuss like what's up. So Rush Royale, or well, in general, this is different from audit because we don't have the internal data. So I'm trying to look into our favorite data tools that we can get access to. And I usually look into, first of all, look into the geomix in terms of the revenues. And for Rush Royale, it actually looks like this. It's obviously the first or the biggest country is US, and then there are some interesting countries like Germany, South Korea, France, Canada, UK, Russia still, and Brazil, Australia, Netherlands, and Italy. So that's top 11. Well, let's say top 11. Who cares if it's top 10? But in terms of the spending, instead, and here it's important to see that they are still spending a lot of money in the US. It's that like top spender in UA, and then it's Brazil, Canada, Australia, UK on Android, and then on iOS it's again US, Germany, Canada, Australia, Russia. So US, Canada, Australia, both platforms pretty strong and also in the top 10 in terms of revenues. But when I looked at last I think 90 days, the US was $3 million revenue, then Germany 1.2, and then the rest was like 500,000, 400,000. So it's pretty big gap, I would say. Not as big gap as last time we discussed with Marvel Snap, where they spend a lot of money in elsewhere, not the US, but it's a different story. So I'm looking also in these data tools on the channel diversification. Felix, where are our t-shirts? How to diversify the UA?
Diversification.
Looking,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
They're stuck in
I was
China,
looking
man.
for
They're
them.
on their way. They're on their way. Don't
Okay,
worry.
okay, perfect. So I'm interested in seeing like where do they spend the most money, and for Rush Royale, we see the classic UA trio of the channels from the current environment that I also use, which is Unity, Facebook, and Google on the top of the spend. And the biggest spender is Unity. So they are actually pretty big after they got the back on store. They are spending a lot of money on Unity, and it seems to work quite well. Seems to work. I don't have the internal data, but it's nice. Then we see the Facebook and the YouTube. And fun fact, on the YouTube, the best performing video, best performing, it's the video that got the biggest impression share, is the copycat of Top War merging concept on the water. So we discussed this when we were talking about the fake ads and the fake core gameplay, and how Top War is actually using a lot of merge mechanics from different perspectives, and how they actually can implement it into the tutorial. And there you go, Rush Royale is copying this concept. Pretty much fine. And I will definitely discuss the creative strategy of Rush Royale. I totally love it, by the way. On the Google other placements, one of the best videos, or one of the videos getting 70% of traffic from survivor.io. And I'm pretty sure the target audience is very similar. So I assume this work quite well too. And the video is actually pretty funny. It's a mix of cartoony characters, intros, and fake gameplay. And you will hear me saying fake gameplay a lot because they are not doing anything else besides the fake ads. But it's not as fake as you would think. What was really interesting to see from my point of view is the TikTok, which they tested for a day with a very slow, super fake, very different visual style creative, which wasn't even interesting. So much wasted potential. But then in these very same back channel discussions that I mentioned at the beginning, I was pointed into one TikTok ad which they started running yesterday, and we are recording on Friday. So they started yesterday on TikTok, and that looks amazing. So great job, guys, for relaunching the UA on TikTok. This is amazing. It's great channel for UA at the moment. So there's like that's me looking into the different UA channels where they spend the most money, and I'm trying to review also like each individual channel and trying to look for interesting tidbits, like with Marvel Snap or Survivor IO. Marvel Snap running the the solitaire pub ID or the solitaire sub IDs in Unity, and these things which don't care, don't matter, I would say.
So what's
So
the conclusion then
what's the
regarding the
conclusion
review? Like, are they
regarding
doing
the
good,
review?
bad, or what would you say?
Yeah, I would say they're pretty good in terms of the UA, and I'm a very big fan of them. It's actually looking really good. So it's Unity, Facebook, and Google all make sense. Right now, restarting the TikTok, they don't mess around with different channels like other companies and games. So from my book, this looks great.
Hmm.
And also from the Unity and I think other ad networks, the Rush Royale is getting most of the impressions from other games, especially like a BitLife Simulator and Little Alchemist, whatever that games is. But still, it looks good. It's not like I'm looking at at the UA channels and I say, "Oh fuck's sake, this is terrible." No, it's like I was like, "Oh wow,
It's
okay,
great benchmarking.
this is great." Yeah, no, it's pretty good. No, and also like based on these like different channels, creatives, and the geos. I usually have pretty good overview of the overall US strategy. Here makes all the sense. They do all the good work.
Does Unity usually work very well with these casualifying mid-core games?
It does. It does actually. It's one of
Okay.
and depends on the mix of the publishers within the UA campaigns, but for midcore and on my side, it looked always pretty. It worked always pretty good.
Okay.
Well, Unity was like very big surprise of the last year in terms of the performance.
Really,
So
on
I
UA,
started using
like on Admon, like they're
yeah.
really not as good as they used to be, especially in the last year.
Well, now they merged with Iron Source. There you go.
Yeah,
It's fine.
says
It's
yesterday.
gonna be
Yeah.
fine now. Well, okay. So now creatives and their creatives is full of fake ads, but not completely fake.
But
That's
it's
the
reasonable amount of fake.
it,
Like last time I saw it, you have towers being merged upon, you have arrows being shot at enemies. It's pretty much the gameplay. It
yeah.
just is a different, kind of layout.
That I would say I would call it altered gameplay, which still like a lot of other companies do on a regular basis, and we've done it in a Trapline together. We were using the assets from the game in the creatives, all the heroes, all the backgrounds, all the attacks, everything. Just trying to show different kind of scenarios in the game from the game, and obviously you can't find those in game, but nobody cares if you are getting pretty good CPIs and you can then scale with these type of creatives. That's completely fine. That's all good. All good for me. And right now, my favorite concept is actually the one that targeted me on Instagram, and it's like first 3 seconds. It's CGI intro of orc running towards an archer, and then it zoomed in to the fake gameplay where you have archers, you have hordes of orcs are attacking you, and that's it basically. So you're merging your heroes and trying to win against the hordes. It's very similar to what we've seen in Survivor IO. So nice, pretty good. And this
If
is
it
a
works.
very new.
Yep.
Yeah, if it works, and I know I think I shared this game which is like merge medieval or medieval merge, and then they are using this type of concept.
Mm.
Okay, so what else? I think they are pretty good. They are doing pretty good job overall on all fronts, creatives and diversifying the channels. And I also heard that they are preparing to get ASMR creatives in place, but not sure if that's true. Did you hear that, Felix, as well? But no, okay. Jokes aside. So, what do you have on the product side of things, guys? Anything interesting? Because this is what I usually do from the UA side, and it gives me pretty good overview.
Who wants to get started on the product side?
Yeah,
You can go, Maria. I
yeah,
can
yeah.
tag along.
Let's hear that.
Yeah,
I'm
before
pretty
before we
interested.
move on, I was just curious,
Yeah,
what's the creative on TikTok that you congratulated? What makes
it
it so good?
it's again very fake or altered gameplay. They're using their best performing scene, which is basically a road you will see until you get into the tower, and then there's like millions of enemies, and they're just trying to kill it one by one, and then merge the heroes into one, and then just you will see a big blast of attack at the end. So that's something that works, I guess, quite well.
And
That's
you
type of,
fail
Right.
in the end, I guess.
and you fail in the end.
Of
Yeah, of
course.
course,
You
of
have
course,
to
of
Mm-hmm.
course,
fail.
of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know the stores were still allowing altered gameplay. I thought they were cracking down on it.
Oh.
Yeah, well, look,
No.
even Facebook
Okay.
said last year, "Oh well, we are banning fake creatives." Where is it?
Right.
Nowhere
Okay.
near the end. No, it's
They're even more prevalent than before, I would say.
yeah, it's definitely
It's
not
hard to
happening.
ban something that your kind of like revenue stream depends on, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of money on top of that.
I'll just walk very high level the different steps. I won't go into the details of
No,
what I
no, no,
found.
no. Okay, don't
But then
okay.
I can go into it.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
We
Oh
need
no, we want some
details.
details. We want some
Yeah,
details.
we need
Yeah,
details.
definitely have some
Yeah.
details.
Okay. So when I'm approaching it from product management, I'm trying to learn everything about the game in terms of from the store listing, looking at what they're doing and practices, reading through reviews, and through the update history. I find that it's quite helpful to just get a high level understanding of what's the sentiment, what are the problems with the game, how do they do their live ops content, how big is the team. You can even see that through how often they update. And then I go and look at the market and the competitors, like who else appears in the stores when you try to search for this kind of game in the genre, who are the key players. And then also looking at the developer and their history, because you can see, what the pedigree of the founders, what successful games that they've made in the past, have they been able to scale, have they been able to show that. And I just like the Detective Pikachu of that you were
Nice.
going through of the companies within the companies and then the publisher and how it all traces back. It's just very
And
fun, I
and then
find.
suddenly 5 hours just pass. Like, whoa, okay, how did I end up here?
Yeah, that was my morning. um yeah, and then I always go to Sensor Tower or Data AI to go and look at the download revenue per download, the revenue, the country breakdown, the platform breakdown, to get an idea of how it's performing. Again, mixing that with what I found with the market analysis and looking at competitors to help benchmark within the genre and who they're competing against. Because I think there are a lot of games that if you just play them, they seem really fun, and
Mm.
you'd think, oh, this must be making so much money.
Yeah.
It's very addictive, but then you go and look at the data, and it's not great.
Yeah.
So I find that you always have to do the two hand in hand to make sure that the emotional balance, because you get emotionally attached to the game.
Yep.
I think it allows whoever's analyzing it to remain impartial. And then also looking at just the trends: are they growing, are they declining, are they plateauing, and understanding what in the market could be affecting this. Like, for example, you were mentioning with the Russia ban.
Yeah.
And then when I get into the actual game, I'm always looking at the flows for the first time user experience. And I'm not just talking about the tutorial, it's even from the start into how do they present an age verification? How do you present the personalized ads? How do you try to get players to rate you? How do we incentivize them to log in? So all of these satellite things are extremely important to try to optimize as much as you can and just learn from how other people are doing it. And then I look at the tutorial. So when I'm looking at the tutorial, I'm trying to understand how much are they holding the hand of the player, how much detail are they explaining how the game works and how you can become better. When do they let go of your hand and they allow the player to go and explore different areas of the game? Because I think there's just different balances to strike, and it's very curious to learn how other games in the market are addressing it. And then I play for, I don't know, an hour or two, and I'm looking at the early progression, the retention, how are they trying to get me to convert? Like, when's the first time that they put a pop up or a special offer in front of me? How do they communicate the value of the offer? Like, how do I benchmark whether this is a good thing to buy or not? And also just looking at everything that I do. Am I making progress in some kind of milestone or some kind of objective to unlock a reward? How fast do I get rewards? So just trying to understand all of the psychology behind those first few hours in the game. And something that I actually find is really important is whether I started playing a game for competitive analysis, and then if I actually start playing it.
For fun purposes, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a good rule.
exactly. And then I also look at, stop me at any time. I might be rambling on a little bit.
Go. No.
I look at the store design, looking at the layout, their navigation. If they're just cloning the UX and UI of a competitor like Rush Royale, they're not reinventing the UX. They're just copying the Clash model, which makes a lot of sense. I look at the ad monetization design. How do I get rewarded ads? I also try to understand their live ops design, how frequently they do special offers, and how do they tie it with content. Always, trying to dig deep into how do players understand why they should buy this? Like, why should I convert?
Nice.
And then sometimes if it's a deep analysis, I think if you really want to dig into why a game is successful, you can't just play it for a few hours. even at Hutch, we have some people who'll dedicate to in different games, and you'll play for 6 months, a year,
Yeah.
and then you bring back a report of how do you keep goal setting and appealing the gamer to become a master of the game throughout their progression journey.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you play a game for 1 hour, you don't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
That's a problem within our industry. Sometimes people do these like surface level reviews and they play it for like 20 minutes. Like, oh well, I didn't see that and that. Like they are
Yeah.
not doing this and that. It's like, oh, yeah, well, of course, but you didn't play it enough to see actually.
Yeah, there's actually a little bit of a trick to this. That
Oh,
that can
secret.
save you actually a lot of time because yeah, if I
It's
would
called
go
YouTube.
no, yeah, YouTube's also very handy if you want to skip to high end gameplay of a certain game. So also recommend that. But the way usually, if I can add on top of what Maria said, is that I try to look through this more to like systemic perspective in a
Oh,
way
of
that
course, system and vectors. Here
yeah,
we are.
systems and
Yes.
vectors,
Now
your
we're getting
favorite.
good.
And the trick is that usually the best thing is that if you know the descendant or the ones that are being used as some kind of starting point or iteration or someone else, and then you pretty much know the system already from the previous game, and the only thing that you try to pretty much catch is the difference and the iteration itself. You don't need to see the full picture because you already see the picture. It's like watching a remake of a movie. You already know the plot, you already know how it ends, and what we are currently trying to find out is those little twists, different actors playing different roles and stuff like that. And that way it can save you a lot of time because everybody currently knows how shard gacha works in Clash Royale. We know the arena system that increases this kind of increasing pool of tokens that unlock throughout arenas and stuff like that. That's the part
Yeah,
that
everybody knows that. Of course, everybody knows that. Everybody.
of
Yeah, I was
course.
sitting here. I don't know how that works. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, but if you're
No worries,
familiar
Felix.
with the system, you already know how the system works. So
Yeah.
immediately, if you open the game, you see what's missing there. So they don't have the chess system for the pacing of the gameplay that Clash Royale uses. They're not using that because if you look a little bit deeper, you see that actually this is a borderline clone, I would say, of Random Dice, the
It
South
is. Yeah.
Korean game.
Mm.
That's pretty much copying the core gameplay one to one.
It's just different visual style.
Yeah, it's very different visual style. The Korean game has very, very Korean, let's say,
Yeah.
local style.
It's
But
just
yeah,
nice.
you
That's it.
already have the baseline. You know how the Clash Royale meta game works and what they changed there, how they let's say adjusted the battle pass there. They have that co-op functionality which is really really prominent in the game, which also adds on top of it. The whole pacing of the rewards is again completely different because they don't have the 4 chest unlocking system. What they do here, especially in Rush Royale, that's even better in that they pace it a lot more around the ads. Random does it also, but they are not that heavy into ads. I would say it's like 60% of what Rush Royale does. Rush Royale actually heavily, heavily innovates on ad placements. There's like skew throughout the game all over. It's like something similar what you would expect from an idle game, actually, where the game is balanced around you having this kind of times to boost being, you know, triggered all the time. Where here you can pretty much just trigger bonus to your resource gain before every match, nearly. After they have like I don't know, 5 to 6 sets until the thing goes on cooldown. So yeah, that's the trick to it, to kind of look at all the systems of previous games, and then going forward and forward and forward, this kind of a portfolio of things that you already know just gets bigger and is then easier to get around that.
Sure, but you need to know this game was based on random
Yeah,
dice.
yeah.
And if
Like
you don't know
best
random
thing to
dice, then you're
start,
fucked.
I would say my recommendation when I'm doing this, you need to know all the archetypes. Meaning, you need to know all the games that have breached literally 1 billion in revenue. Like all of them are usually the ones that are being used as
Clone.
iteration
Yeah. Okay.
standpoint. Yeah. For instance, I don't know, Puzzle and Dragons, Empires and Puzzles. That's like a clear iteration. There's very very big iteration. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a easy to do that iteration. It's not a copy, but still you know the systems, you know how they work, and then it's again
You know
like
the
looking into
vectors,
the vectors.
especially vectors.
You're just looking into like a different car, or like, oh, this is this part that I saw in this other game and it's now working in this way and they're using it that way. So that's very very easy to do once you know it.
Well,
Once you know it, that's easy.
Maria, this podcast works in this way. So if you have time to catch a breath, then Jakub starts talking, and you are just out. So you need to fight for your word.
That's why he has so much breath for his balloons.
Uh,
So not.
That's helium.
there you go.
Yeah, and I don't know specifically your audience. I don't know how senior the professionals are. But if you're just getting into the industry, it might seem a bit scary that you have to learn all of these systems at once and very quickly. But honestly, over a year of your career, if you're just being dedicated and you're doing this over time and going through the top grossing that Jakub was saying, you will just naturally start learning
The pattern.
Yeah.
the patterns, and you'll just have a mental library to pull upon.
It's the same thing I think with Admon and the UA. So I've seen things, and now I see I look at the campaign and how the numbers are evolving, and I say like, okay, so I've seen this before, so I know what's gonna happen, and I guess it's similar for you guys.
Yeah. The second thing, if you want to go a little bit deeper, I would recommend is look into the company portfolio if you want to see like if there's some kind of a lineage being shared between the games and if there's progression. For instance, a good
Yeah.
example would be Habby, where you can clearly see that they're using the same meta game from every other kind of a iteration of Archero, which they are just changing the core gameplay. They have something like a runner, then they have a pinball game, they have this kind of Archero, and Survivor IO is pretty much Archero on steroids, where they take down the kind of slow cooldown parts out of the game. So you can see that they're using their tried and tested metagame all over the portfolio.
Okay,
Whereas
since we have two product people here, so can we have a refresher on like what's the difference between the meta game and the core
core gameplay,
gameplay? Yeah.
yep. Mm,
You
All
go,
right.
Jakub.
Okay. Core gameplay is the basic unit of gameplay, like a basic single segment that you can play to be counted as like a core gameplay, meaning that that's the thing that you play when you're riding a bus or waiting in line for Starbucks that you can play and it ends, and pretty much that's the single unit of gameplay. Meta
Tell me an
game
example.
example. Clash Royale match, which takes like 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Level of a Candy Crush, one battle of Empires and Puzzles. Some
That's
of
core
these things.
gameplay.
That's core
Okay.
gameplay.
Okay.
You don't actually need to have active core gameplay. That just
Mhm.
to
What the
mention
fuck?
that
That's even
that there's
even.
active player input involved. It can go automatic completely.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
idle core
But
gameplays.
even not like an idle one. Like if we consider something like a Forex, their core
Wait,
gameplay is
wait.
pretty
What do
much
they have in
sending users
Hutch?
around
What do
the
you have
map.
as your core gameplay in Hutch, Mario? Would you say?
Yeah.
Like in a couple of the racing games.
Well, yeah, the game that I work on is a card strategy game where you do simulations. When we call the core gameplay when you enter the match, where you have 5 opponents and 5 opponent cards,
Mhm.
and they're each racing on a different track in different weather conditions. The
Ooh.
player chooses their 5 cards that they want to bring in, and then they have to match them to the opponents that they want to race against. And then it does the race simulation for you to see the results. That's the core gameplay.
Yeah.
And then the meta is you're collecting the cars, you're upgrading them. So I think a very simplification of the two concepts is that the core gameplay is when you have to have your eyes glued usually, and you're doing things, and it's fairly bite sized. And then the meta is when you can take it in a more iterative approach and you do it over time.
Yeah,
But
meta is
that's
usually the progression, the Excel sheets that drives the numbers.
and the
Excel sheets,
spend
but
depth.
yeah, okay. How do you explain Excel sheets to random people in the industry? It's just
How do you explain Excel sheets? Let's take Clash Royale. Clash Royale, in the end, without the levels and upgrading, would be a great chess game. But in order to make money, they actually need to upgrade something, which means they're running on this infinite loop of health and damage, which just scales. But the game is the same, which makes the
ooh,
progression.
we are definitely going a little bit away from Rush Royale,
Yeah.
but this is amazing. This is great. No,
Let's go
Yeah,
back.
it is
no,
good.
it's great. It's great. Oh, I love it.
I think for me, the most important aspect, even when you learn the patterns, even when you learn the archetypes, it's still important, in my opinion, to play a diverse set of games across genres and everything, is the pacing. I think the pacing is one of the most delicate balances in terms of the progression and keeping the player stuck in and keeping them coming back and how quickly they feel powerful. And yeah, the pacing is what I see vary across all of the games I play. And just getting, and this is why I think watching YouTube won't be as good as actually
Yeah, it's not
playing
the
it
same.
yourself, because you don't
You
feel the
don't feel it. Yeah.
pacing.
Yeah.
I think feeling the game is actually a thing, and it's very important to
Yeah.
to learn over time in your career.
Yeah, I completely agree with this. Like just one example, when I was playing with like free account Empires and Puzzles for more than a year, I literally got 0 5-star heroes. 0. So that just tells something about the spend depth of the game.
Oh, that's just telling how sad your life is, actually, as well. But okay, we can.
Yeah, but you need to feel the grind, honestly. Like you need to feel the
Yeah,
grind, where it hits you, how hard it is, how fast you can get out of it, how much even if you buy something, it will help you.
yeah,
Because some games just suffer from the problem that you buy something, you actually get nowhere, and there's immediate buyer's regret, and the second
Yeah,
conversion is nowhere to be seen.
yeah.
absolutely agree. Yeah.
Also like to know like where's the point of the game that actually makes me pay. That's important. I want to pay, of course. I'm a payer in different games. I can pay whatever I want if it's actually valuable for me as a player. If it's not, like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah, sometimes they don't want to make you pay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
not
course.
always.
Yeah, we discussed that like two episodes ago, actually.
Yeah, but I guess let's get a little bit back to
Yeah, let's get back
Rush
to it.
Royale. So
Back to
if you look
Rush
at the
Royale.
portfolio, I would say Rush Royale currently makes
Whoa, whoa,
something.
whoa, 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 whoa! What the fuck?
Oh, what?
Well, why are you talking? We're still come on, like Maria had
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Maria.
Oh, honestly, I don't have that much more to add. I think I was
Yeah.
very curious into
Okay.
what Jakub was going to say. So yeah, please go
Jacob is
ahead.
always jumping into every word, every sentence
He
of,
has
of
interesting
others.
things to say. I get
That's true.
it.
Yeah. Okay. I know. All the balloons behind him is like pushing him to say everything. Okay. Go.
Yeah, just saying that I don't see like a big pattern on the portfolio. It's I guess because of that
Which
that
portfolio?
the
The
My
My
Games now
Games. Okay.
Upwake Me portfolio,
Okay.
which I guess was just acquiring company from left to right in a way
Mm.
that they weren't, I guess, probably trying to diversify. War Robots and Rush Royale are still driving the company mainly. We can only see that Rush Royale makes something like 2.3, 2.5 million a month in IAPs, but I guess that's nearly or even more than double because of the strong ad placements they have in the game, which I guess Felix can also
But
tell a
also
little bit more.
they made, before they were pulled off the store, they made like 5 to
Yeah,
6
that
million
declined a
a
little bit
month.
in the last
Yeah,
2-3 months. Yeah, so
because they need, they had to restart the UA. It's not easy. It's not easy to restart the UA and get back on track as you were spending before.
yeah. So as we talk around, like core gameplay is pretty simple. It's just like the usual tower defense. As I said, it's pretty much one-to-one clone with random dice, where you have some kind of a twists. The randomness actually is very very strong, as Maria pointed in the comments. Like it's much less controlled than something like, let's say, Clash Royale, where the randomness is basically coming from new cards being put into your hand and you can choose which one to use. Whereas here the randomness is pretty much after every move in the game, where even when you spawn something it's random and when you merge something it's random. There are
Ugh.
of course some cards in the game that can offset this, like joker cards and stuff like that, but still is very 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 random. So it can feel very punishing. I completely agree with that. And then your skill is pretty much being able to adapt to these random situations, which makes the replayability factor very high. So that's great. Regarding the meta game, I would say it lacks a little bit in the like the strategy factor, where the deck size is only 5 tokens strong, which compared something to like Clash Royale, which is eight tokens, it diminishes the you know the need to have that many tokens, because I've seen a lot of decks being just built around one card and all the other cards supporting it.
Okay, but then you have the weekly change of the uplift of different cards, right? Like, I'm not sure like how do they call it? But now,
You
for
mean like how do
example,
they do PvP meta shifts?
not meta shifts, but you have in the game that every week there's a
Yeah.
change.
Like they boost up factions
Yeah,
to.
the factions. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's one way they try to offset this problem, but I guess it's still kind of much more stronger here rather than something like, let's say, Golf Clash, which is also using the Clash Royale shard meta, where yeah, you have 8 slots even though they have 7 slots because the puter is not scalable. So here they have 5 slots, 61 tokens in the pool. I guess they can still scale it a little bit more. No problem with that. But they already hit the problem that Clash Royale already did, which is they added these kind of skip items, which are the ones that help you to upgrade the cards without spending any cards, actually, that you need to get them more gold. Because this is like let's say, a problem of the model. Even though Clash Royale Shard Gacha game model, it works great, this is the problem when you get to those exponential numbers at the end of the level curves, which get super, super, super high. And by adding more tokens into the pool, it gets exponentially harder to actually get the specific tokens. So this way, they are trying to offset this to put more people to the end game rather than being stuck into the, early to mid game.
Okay, I have no idea what you just said, but we can definitely continue.
I was curious, Jakub. I read a lot of reviews about the imbalance in the gameplay, and like you were saying, there's not much diversity in terms of deck archetypes. I read that they recently released the Witch, which is a unit that is overpowered and destroyed the balance. Do you think that having a game having the 5 slots instead of the 8 slots, it makes it harder to balance interesting deck archetypes, or the impacts of an OP unit, it affects the game even more?
I would say it really happens on the gameplay itself, because keep in mind they also have 2 modes and some cards have different functionality in co-op gameplay.
Okay.
So that also plays very well for them, because this way you want to have like one deck already for PvP, one deck for co-op. So already the, like, let's say, effective deck size is pretty much doubled if they play it wisely. But still, I guess they will be pushing themselves into the corner long term if they are scaling to something like, I don't know, 100 tokens in the gacha, like Clash Royale has currently. Like Clash Royale, I think, is currently sitting like 105 or something plus, and they actually launched the game with like 50. So they nearly doubled the whole gacha pool, and I guess these guys are doing the same and will be doing the same, because this is how the model works. So my guess is like one of the best remedies to this would be to create different game modes with different twists, or pretty much like, you have a deck A for problem A and deck B from problem B. Therefore, you need to upgrade more decks and different decks, because the worst case that can happen here is that you have one deck that solves all the problems in the whole game, and then you don't need to upgrade anything, and the whole thing grinds to halt. So that's the problem, because when you start adding more and more of these into the pool, as you said, like new cards, they're still competing with the existing cards, and yeah, new mechanics probably needs to be created, and then we get to the usual power creep where the new mechanics are just better than the old ones in order for you to upgrade the cards anyway.
Could another solution be adding some kind of tags to the cards where you can use
They already
the
have
tags?
the factions, so they are tagged.
Okay, do they sell packs, or
No, I don't
Gacha
think so.
style?
Not
Okay.
yet. But that's like kind of trickery slope with gacha games, where you cut down the randomness of the pools, and then the spend depth gets cut down pretty fast.
Yeah.
Felix, do you see like how they're smiling and we don't know like what they're talking about?
Dude, like
have no
I was
idea.
just thinking
That's
to a couple
amazing.
of things that you guys were both talking about, and I was just like, shit, I can't even spell that. Like, what are they talking about?
Exactly. I like,
But it's great to have
idea.
Maria on the pod. Like, finally a product person. I don't need to be lost in ad networks.
no, like what do you mean? Yeah, well, he was complaining last time, like, oh well, I need to listen to all of your UA bullshit and UA diversification, blah blah blah. Like, come on, like, are you saying like we are not the equal sparring partners for you? Come on.
Everybody's equal sparring partner in the off genre.
I'm actually really interested in what Felix has to say. I read your prep, Felix.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh.
No, it's always amazing. He always does these like calculations and everything and numbers.
I
and
did it this week
Numbers
as
are
well.
great.
Don't worry.
It's great. It's amazing. I love it. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Sorry.
We finished with the product then?
Yeah.
No.
Go ahead.
All right. So
You're never finished.
we've gotten to the best part of any analysis, the ads part. All right. 'Cause, nothing more beautiful. I keep saying there's nothing more beautiful than ads, right? So the analysis, or kind of a mini deep dive on ad monetization, is always split into 3 parts. The first is ad placements in the game. The second one is, do the ad networks in the game match your user base? And the third one is, you look at the ad waterfall setup, but that's only possible if you actually have the logins, right? So yeah, I kind of did 1 and 2, and then kind of peering from the outside on 3. So ad placements in the game here, of course, you actually have to play the game for like 2 or 3 hours. And also when you play the game, you have to play like you're one of the masses, right? And that's to say you can't make any IAP purchases. You have to get by watching ads. So none of those elitist IAPs, starter pack buying bullshit. Looking at you, Matej, you whale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's me. Always.
Yeah, and what am I looking for here?
I want to feel like what is like to buy the starter pack and how that actually improves my gameplay?
It's
Like
at least
what
elitist, Matej. You can't do that if you're playing a game for the ads. You can't do that.
okay.
Anyway, what am I looking for here when you're starting to play the game? I'm looking for several things like what are the ad placements? Where are they? Is it rewarded? Banners, inters? How long are the end cards on the ads? Like, do they make sense? So on Rush Royale, they only have rewarded ads, but they have a lot of placements. I count around 6 or 7 rewarded ad placements. And this is on the higher end, and I feel they're all super relevant and very compelling. So you can already tell, like, these guys really know what they're doing. So then I write it down. So 6 ad placements is victory chest, defeat chest, pre-battle PvP chest, pre-battle co-op chest, pre-battle storage chest, and quest chest.
It's all about
So
chests.
Still
chest, a
more.
lot of chest.
They have the refresh thing on the carousel with the
Oh
cards.
yeah, they have that one. Yeah.
They have the roulette thing with the ad, and like I guess still a few more. Like those are pretty much very very nicely hidden with the
Yeah.
dynamic placements.
Yeah, so they have a couple of them on timers. So it's about like 6 or 7 ad units you can see. I'm assuming here session lengths are about 15 to 20 minutes. That means probably a normal non-IAP purchaser is going to watch about 4 to 5 rewarded ads per day. And the ad placements are also so relevant that I think the ad viewer rate is around 70%, which is quite high. The ad placements for me look quite good, and I struggle to think of anyone, like any other ones to add, except maybe like a welcome back rewarded placement. I don't know, Maria, or like, do you have any ideas? What would be like another
I
good
have
ad
one
placement?
question afterwards as well. So please go on.
Remo, any good like ideas for any more ad placements?
I know that random dice would have the consolidate. Like if you lose, they would give you a chest or like ad placement for a chest. But these guys do it even if you win.
Yeah,
So
win and lose, you're getting an ad.
You can still get the ad placement there.
So Felix, hypothetical question: if you are making a game which is Rush Royale inspired, let's say that way, it's not a clone, but it's inspired by Rush Royale. Wink. So for those who listen to the podcast, and they're trying to avoid the ads because of the premium feel. What would you say to these guys? Should they add the ad monetization in the game, very similar to what the Rush Royale is doing, or they can just skip it and bank on the premium feel?
This is not 2014 anymore, right? The player bases are used to rewarded ads. Players like rewarded ads, and for me, it makes no sense why we'd like make a game that doesn't have rewarded ads anymore. Interstitial banners are a bit intrusive ad format, is annoying, but rewarded ads they add to the gameplay. And I've actually managed a couple of games where something broke and people complain that they can't get the rewarded ads. Like, they're a nice complement to gameplay, and I don't see any harm in it. And I don't think it takes away from premium feel away at all. Like, no.
Yeah, and actually, looking at a pattern of data, you can also see that the player segment that engages with rewarded ads the most are spenders and or elder game players. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought as well. But hypothetical question, of course.
Yeah. Looking at you, Marvel Snap.
I was waiting like this is gonna pop up.
Anyway. All right, so once we played the game and we made our estimates on ad viewer rate, ARPDAU, and then we have enough to start making estimates on the overall ad revenue in the game. So that's when you log into your favorite data platform and you take a look at the active user base. And then you split that active user base into US and non-US DAU, and then you plug it in. Why do you do this? eCPM is super different in America and the rest of the world. America is still, tier 1, top tier. That's where the eCPMs are the highest. So if you don't split this out, it really messes up your estimates. So I looked at between 18th of September and 23rd of October, so about 1.7 million users. I assumed 5 impressions per day. I plugged in the eCPM numbers that I usually see for these geos, and I come to a daily ad revenue figure of $58,000 a day, which comes out to 1.7 million a month. So that is about 31% of their IAP revenue. But something interesting on top of this. So 20% of the user base is from Russia and the Ukraine. And this changes everything quite a lot. So before the war, I was able to get $3 to $4 ECPMs on Russian rewarded videos. Now, if I'm lucky, I get close to $2. So if I plug these numbers in as well as for pre-war levels, I think that this game, like Royal Rush, was making about 40% before from ad revenue. And it all kind of went down after the war, which is kind of crazy.
This is also what I would expect. Like 30% of the whole revenue is basically ads. Well, which is
No,
on
man, in
top of the
January, I
revenue,
guarantee you this was
yeah.
40%, like 100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So
And that's crazy numbers.
yeah,
And that's what I say. Like these guys, I think like they're doing all the right moves to actually grow the game, and we can see it on the revenue. Basically, it's growing since what, like
since launch in
since launch,
2020.
basically. Yeah, since launch.
There's like a 1 year difference between the launch of Random Dice and this game, so they are also very, very fast to actually pull out the game together.
Yeah, and I think it's very impressive also seeing the country mix in terms of the downloads and the revenue. They're not usually dependent on a single country.
Yeah. So that brings us.
I had a question. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
sure, go for it.
No.
Go ahead.
Sure, shoot.
I was wondering, for a new games company to do this kind of ad monetization, how critical is it to hire someone who's an expert in this, and how early in the stage?
I will answer for Felix. Highly critical as soon as you can. There you go. You can ask that, Felix. Of course, he will tell you that.
No, like honestly, like
you
can slap it on a bit later.
answer.
Like just slap it on a bit later. Release the game and slap it on later, so it doesn't really make sense within in your core loops. That always works out. No.
Oh, okay. Let me answer that now.
No.
The economy need to take it. Like you need to offset the budget to the ad monetization. That's the most important thing I would say from product perspective. Of course, Felix can do his magic on the like mediation external side, but inside the game, you need to add budget to the game, and you cannot just go like add just more stuff into the game.
But it wasn't the question.
Yeah, no, I was joking before. Like honestly, ad monetization person dealing directly with network stuff, I would say it makes sense to bring someone in around soft launch, because that's when you need to get an idea of what your ad ARPDAU will be. So a person like me, like if you start thinking about the ad monetization already quite early and have someone dedicated to that, I would say ad monetization person around soft launch, and that would make sense.
Right. Yeah. And would it have to be a full-time person, or could it be using consultancy or contractor?
Consultancy work, I mean, it all depends on how much ad revenue it is, right? So like if it's, a couple of thousand a day, probably doesn't make sense to have anyone in-house. Kind of rule of thumb here, what you say is you can optimize your waterfall and everything here and maybe boost your ad revenue by 20 to 30%. So calculate how much like boost that is a month, and then you have your budget for your Admon person.
Yeah.
Right. So run a test first, test it before understanding whether you should have a full-time person.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, most probably.
Very interesting.
But what we usually say to the companies, just even for UA, it doesn't make sense to hire internally full-time even in soft launch. I mean, you on the UA side, you have a lot of work, but it's in cycles. So usually when you wait for the new build and the improvements on the gameplay, well, there is nothing that you can do on the UA side. So what would that person internally do? Well, you can learn, study, whatever. Why would you pay internally? So okay, but that's detail.
Sorry, Felix,
no worries.
You're still doing your analysis.
No,
okay, like, so let me go to the second part, which is the ad network mix. So here again, but this time I log into my second favorite data platform, and basically the data is not as good, but they do give the SDKs are installed in the game as a part of their basic package. So Royal Rush SDKs, they have
Rush
10
Royale, dude.
Yeah, man, I keep mixing it up. Yeah, I keep mixing it up.
I see that. Like, well, I didn't say anything like when you say Royal Rush before, but now it's like no.
But dude, that's what it says in the App Store. I keep getting so confused.
Suddenly it's like no bullshit. Come on, like, you need to always.
So anyway, they have 10 ad SDKs: AppLovin, Meta, AdMob, IronSource, Unity, Pangle, Emobi, Vungle, Tapjoy, and MyTarget. So what I'm looking for here is, are these networks actually matching to up to where their user base is? As you know, some networks are stronger than others in some geos. So a rule of thumb here is that you always want to work with a couple of main networks, and that's AdMob, Meta, AppLovin, Unity, Iron Source, but only on iOS. And these guys all have good global reach, and they're kind of the backbone of your ad revenue. Next thing, what you want to do is match networks with your top geos. So these guys' top geos is Russia, America, Korea, Germany, and the Ukraine. So they've matched these geos with Pango, MyTarget, kind of Iron Source, Korea, Iron Source, Bungle, and Imobi. So that looks good from the outside. MyTarget is like a must-have partner for the CIS, and Pango is super strong in Asia. So that makes sense from the outside. If you're making 20K...
Imobi is also very strong in Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, which one?
Imobi.
Yeah. So if you're making around 20K a day from ads, you usually need around 10 networks to actually push competition. So these guys make, 60K a day plus. So that makes sense. I would say they're probably missing two key demand sources, DTX and Google Ad Manager. And probably that's costing them on an ad ARPDAU basis around 4 to 5% on a yearly basis. So yeah, thinking behind there, you can go back in a couple of our episodes and check that out, why that is. You can also, if you want to go deep here, like you can also have a look at the AdApps.txt file and see if everything's up to date there in terms of all the resellers. I did. It looks quite good. So these guys are on top of it. And unless I have access to their mediation, this is where my kind of analysis would end. However, if I did have access to their mediation, what I would look for...
Nice.
What I would look for here is first you log in, and the first thing I look for is to see what kind of geo split they have. The geo split is where you group together similarly priced ECPM geos in clusters, and then you optimize those clusters in separate waterfalls. So on smaller apps, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do this, but on apps that are 20K a day plus, this is quite important because it adds up over time. Next, after that, what I would do is take the ad networks and to see the revenue over the last 30 days and see what kind of percentage and share of revenue each network is kind of contributing to the overall revenue. What I'm kind of looking for here is the more evenly spread your ad revenue is between networks, the higher your ad revenue will be. So any ad network under 3-4%, kick them out. They add 0% value. So this is also true on the opposite end. So if you have a network that takes up more than 50%, that's not good for your competition either. So then last thing I look at is like how tight are the waterfalls. And what that actually means is you just go into the waterfalls and actually look at the placements. What you want is each placement to be filling out 1% and like contributing at least 1% of the overall revenue in that waterfall. And if all the placements are doing that, then it's looking good. And that's it.
That's it. Yeah, nice. Okay.
Someone's getting removed from the waterfall today.
Yeah, not today. Oh well, yeah, today. I'm most probably going to do the post production after the dinner anyway. Okay. No, that's fucking that's super interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I find it very helpful to share these benchmarks.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments like what we should look for in like doing these like product reviews? Obviously, we went a little bit deeper than usually, but I think it's pretty interesting.
I think maybe discussing a little bit about how to pick which games. Let's say you've gone through all of the 1 billion plus games. How do you select which ones you should be looking at?
Yeah.
I would say the new ones definitely, like the ones that are pretty much, Survivor IR comes out roaring 2 million a day. You definitely need to see that. Like, no questions asked. That's there. Even if it's out of your genre, out of your scope, whatever, you just need to know how it works. Just if you're really lazy, watch 10-minute tutorial video.
But it's not you won't get the feel.
Yeah, you won't because you're lazy. That's why you're watching the video.
We are not lazy at all, of course. Wow. Okay. Well, no, I have to admit I stopped playing Survivor IO after level or not level, the arena 5 or 6.
It just got a bit
It just-
repetitive. Like it's just a
Yeah,
bit too
it
long.
got boring.
Yeah.
It got boring a little bit. Also with Marvel Snap, I mean, I'm like 35-ish.
Yeah, the other
level.
thing I would say would be try to look for games outside your region, because especially
Oh yeah, that's
trends are
yeah.
coming from Asia to West very, very heavily, and we don't really see these games slaps around us on ads or accessible immediately.
Okay, but if you don't see them, like how would you find them? How would you know like what to
Google.
look for? Fuck. Okay, but how
You
would
see
you
the
know like
charts.
what to
You
look
see
for?
the charts. You see the grossing charts in Japan, Korea,
you need-
Asia, China. You
That's
know,
that's the
China
right
always,
answer.
of
Not like
course.
Google. Fuck. It's like of course like go to the grossing charts, look into Korea.
no bullshit,
Yeah,
Remo.
yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, something else I do is, because live ops is so important, I just try to find games that have interesting live op strategies. And if I can see, I just go to my favorite data platform. And yeah, I just look at how they can spike their revenue based on their live ops calendar. And then if it shows really interesting results, I'll decide, even if it's not top grossing or a new game, I'll still decide to go and play and just understand how they can keep such a sustainable live ops monetization.
Then what's interesting for you in this case then? What's interesting? Like it's like 10x of the daily revenue, or like how do you find the define
the
interesting in
benchmark,
terms of
I
like
guess.
the benchmark?
The benchmark. I think I've definitely looked at examples where they managed to 3x,
Okay.
and then also looking at when they 3x, 5x'd with a peak,
Yeah.
do they manage to sustain it? How far down does it go? That also changes how I'm analyzing it.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just trying to learn like what is the content, how do they communicate it to the player base? 'Cause I think that communication with your players and how you announce it is extremely important as well to learn from.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. It's also there's the hangover period right after the live ops.
Yeah,
Nobody's talking about, by the way. It's like, oh well,
Yeah.
yeah, we do live ops, it's amazing, and they're like, oh well, but like the baseline declined like 2x. Like, oh well, okay. In that case,
Yeah.
the live ops is not making that much of a sense.
I'm curious to see with the Clash Royale, because I know they released a pretty massive update that did an amazing revenue spike. I'm going to keep an eye on it as to, well, I saw your strategy, but what are the consequences of the strategy to get that spike?
That's what we discussed with the Mr. Beast video. Like, oh wow, this is amazing. They spiked quite a lot in terms of downloads, but revenue stayed flat. We're like, okay, well, there you go. Amazing job.
Guys, I need to actually go.
No, it's all good. I think we're all good.
Set.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks
so much,
for
Maria.
coming.
It was
Really
great
No,
having you
thanks
on.
for having me on. It was great to join you.
More product people, please.
More product people. Okay, so we will bring on more product people in the future. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe. Obviously, we just hit 1,000 subscribers. It's amazing.
Yeah, congrats on that, actually.
Thank you
That's
very much.
amazing.
For doing that. So please keep doing so. Share the podcast with your industry friends, family, dogs, and cats. Cats are important
Gotta get the
part
cat.
of the equation. And talk to you next time. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Bye bye.